I am looking at our wedding photo hanging on the wall of this quiet living room. My grandfather Earl died 3 weeks ago. He left me 3 apartment buildings in Philadelphia. My wife has no idea. I have kept this secret from her every single day since the funeral. It is not that I do not love her. It is that I already know what she will do when she finds out. The doorbell is ringing now. My mother-in-law stands at the door with a stranger carrying a briefcase. Before I continue with what happened next, drop a comment and tell me where you are watching from today. If you believe that secrets have a way of protecting us, sometimes go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Because the moment that door opened, everything I thought I knew about my marriage came crashing down. My name is Tyrone, and I am 32 years old. I work as a software engineer for a technology company based in Pittsburgh. The salary is respectable, and it allows me to live a comfortable life, though I would never call myself wealthy. My childhood was not easy. When I turned 12, my parents went through a bitter divorce. My father relocated to California and never looked back. My mother struggled with her own demons and could not raise me properly. That is when Grandpa Earl stepped in. Grandpa Earl was a carpenter from Philadelphia. He spent over 5 decades working with wood-building furniture, fixing homes, and saving every spare dollar he earned. Over the years, he purchased 3 modest apartment units in the Fishtown neighborhood. These were not luxury properties. They were simple homes for working families, but they represented everything he had worked for his entire life. Grandpa had a saying that he repeated to me countless times. Son, money has a way of showing you exactly who people are. I always nodded when he said it, but I never truly understood. I thought it was just something old people say. Now those words echo in my mind every single day. 6 years ago, I attended a party hosted by one of my coworkers. That is where I first saw Brianna. She had this energy about her that drew people in. She worked as a real estate agent and had ambitions that seemed to match my own. We started dating and everything felt natural. 2 years later, we stood at the altar and exchanged vows. I believed I had found my partner for life. The early years of our marriage were genuinely happy. Brianna took care of our home. She planned romantic dinners. She made me feel valued and appreciated. Her mother, Denise, lived about 20 minutes away. She was a widow who had lost her husband about a decade earlier. Denise visited us regularly, sometimes multiple times a week. I welcomed her presence because I thought family closeness was a blessing. But something shifted after our 3rd anniversary. Brianna became increasingly dissatisfied. She complained about our house being too small. She pointed out that her friends drove newer cars and lived in bigger homes. She questioned why I was not advancing faster in my career. The warmth between us started cooling. I also began noticing patterns in Denise's conversations. She always steered discussions toward money. How much did I earn? What were my investment accounts worth? Did I have a retirement plan? At first, I assumed she was simply looking out for her daughter's future. Now I see those questions in a completely different light. 3 weeks ago, my phone rang early in the morning. Grandpa Earl had suffered a massive heart attack. He was 84 years old, and his heart simply gave out. I flew to Philadelphia immediately to attend the funeral. Brianna told me she could not come because of important meetings with clients. I was too devastated to argue. After we buried Grandpa, his lawyer gathered the family to read the will. My cousin Kevin sat beside me. We had grown up together at Grandpa's house during summers. The lawyer announced that Grandpa left me the 3 apartment units in Fishtown. Their combined value was approximately $1,200,000. Kevin received Grandpa's vintage automobile and a sum of cash. He embraced me warmly and said Grandpa always considered me his own son. There was no jealousy between us, just grief and gratitude. I flew home that evening, my heart heavy but also touched by Grandpa's generosity. I planned to tell Brianna everything. I imagined we would celebrate together. I thought this inheritance could secure our future and maybe even bring us closer again. When I arrived home around 9 that night, I noticed Denise's car in the driveway. She had not mentioned she would be visiting. I walked toward the front door but stopped when I heard voices drifting from the kitchen window. Something made me pause and listen. Denise spoke first. "Did you contact that lawyer friend of yours about the will? The old man definitely left something behind for Tyrone." Then I heard my wife's voice. "Not yet. But here is the thing, Mom. In Pennsylvania, inherited property stays separate from marital assets. We need to convince him to add my name voluntarily or transfer ownership to both of us." Denise responded quickly. "Exactly right. Play it smart. First, we need to confirm what he actually received." I stood frozen outside my own home. My chest tightened until I could barely breathe. 6 years of marriage. 6 years of building a life together. And behind closed doors, they were strategizing how to take what my grandfather left me. I composed myself, opened the front door loudly, and walked inside as if I had just arrived. Denise and Brianna immediately shifted to casual conversation about a television program. That night, I lay beside my wife, staring at the ceiling. The woman next to me suddenly felt like a complete stranger. In the days that followed, I pretended nothing had changed. When Brianna asked about the funeral, I told her it was difficult, but I was managing. When she inquired about the will, I lied without hesitation. I told her Grandpa left everything to Kevin because he believed I was financially stable with my engineering career. But internally, I was observing everything through new eyes. Details I had previously dismissed now screamed for attention. Brianna had a habit of checking my phone while I slept. She frequently asked about my bank statements and investment portfolios. Every time I received a bonus or raise at work, she immediately proposed upgrading our lifestyle. A bigger television, a newer car, a larger house. Her appetite for spending never seemed satisfied. I reached out to Marcus, my closest friend from our college days. He had become a family law attorney with a successful practice. We met at a quiet coffee shop across town where no one would recognize us. I told him everything. The conversation I overheard. The patterns I had noticed over the years. My growing suspicion that our entire marriage might have been built on deception. Marcus listened without interrupting. When I finished, he leaned forward with a serious expression. "Tyrone, you need concrete evidence before making any decisions. And more urgently, you need to protect those properties immediately. Do not wait another day." His advice set me on a path I never anticipated walking. Marcus explained how I could legally shield inherited assets. He recommended I investigate further before confronting anyone. A few nights later, opportunity arrived. Brianna announced she was going to a spa evening with girlfriends. The moment her car disappeared down the street, I opened her laptop. I knew her password because she had asked me to repair it several months earlier. What I discovered shattered whatever remained of my faith in her. Hidden in her email was a folder labeled Planning. Inside were messages exchanged between Brianna and Denise spanning 4 years. These conversations began before Brianna and I even got married. The earliest email was from Denise. It read, "Tyrone's grandfather owns several rental properties in Philadelphia. I did my research already. The man is elderly. It is only a matter of time before he passes." Brianna's reply turned my stomach. "Understood, Mom. I will handle everything from my end." The emails continued chronologically. They discussed Grandpa Earl's health conditions. They noted when I visited him and what I told them about his well-being. They tracked him like predators stalking prey. The most recent message was dated just days after the funeral. Denise wrote, "The time has finally come. You need to get him to sign transfer documents or add your name to those properties. I will locate a notary we can trust." I sat motionless in front of that glowing screen. Tears streamed down my face without my permission. Our wedding. Our anniversary trips. The nights she whispered that she loved me. All of it was calculated. All of it was performance. She had targeted me specifically because she knew about Grandpa's apartments. I was never her husband. I was her investment. After uncovering those emails, my perception transformed completely. I watched Brianna's behavior with analytical detachment. She suddenly became extraordinarily affectionate. She prepared elaborate meals. She asked about my feelings with exaggerated concern. Then came the probing questions about the inheritance. "Sweetheart, did the attorney mention anything specific about what your grandfather left behind?" I maintained my fabricated story. "Grandpa gave everything to Kevin. He figured my career provided enough security already." Disappointment flickered across her face before she masked it. She did not believe me, but she could not press harder without exposing herself. Denise increased her visits dramatically. She asked similar questions with false casualness. I delivered the same rehearsed answers. But they already knew those apartments existed. They had known for years. Brianna began advocating for financial consolidation. She suggested combining our bank accounts. She proposed adding her name to my investments. She brought home paperwork for joint ownership arrangements. I deflected every attempt with excuses about needing time to consider. Meanwhile, I worked secretly with Marcus to fortify my position. We established a limited liability company registered solely in my name. The 3 Philadelphia apartments were transferred into this entity, completely separating them from any marital property claims. I opened a new bank account at a different institution. All rental income now flowed into this protected account. Marcus also suggested hiring a private investigator to examine Denise's background. The findings confirmed my darkest suspicions. Denise's husband had died approximately 10 years ago from a sudden medical episode. He possessed a substantial life insurance policy. Shortly before his death, the beneficiary designation was changed from his sister to Denise. She collected the entire payout. The investigator uncovered evidence suggesting Denise had manipulated her dying husband into making that change. The picture became horrifyingly clear. This was not their first operation. Mother and daughter functioned as a team. They identified men with valuable assets, cultivated relationships, and maneuvered to claim those assets through marriage or manipulation. I was simply their latest target. I preserved every piece of evidence: email screenshots, text message records, the investigator's complete report. I assembled my case methodically and waited for the right moment. That moment arrived on an ordinary Saturday afternoon. Brianna mentioned she needed to meet a client and drove away. I settled into the living room with a book, though my mind was elsewhere. The doorbell chimed. I opened the door to find Denise standing on my porch, accompanied by a man wearing a formal suit and carrying a professional leather briefcase. Denise smiled warmly. "Tyrone, this is Mr. Thompson. He is a notary public. Brianna and I have some documents that require your signature." I invited them inside, maintaining a calm exterior despite my racing pulse. This was the confrontation I had anticipated for weeks. Within minutes, Brianna arrived. Her timing was obviously coordinated, though she pretended surprise. "Oh, Mom, I did not realize you were already here." They arranged themselves in the living room. Denise spread several documents across the coffee table. I examined them carefully. These were property transfer forms. They would convert my sole ownership of the 3 Philadelphia apartments into joint ownership with Brianna. Denise spoke in a soothing tone. "Just sign these papers, dear. This is standard procedure for married couples. What belongs to one belongs to both, right?" I held the documents and read each paragraph deliberately. The silence stretched uncomfortably. Brianna's patience cracked first. "Why are you hesitating? Just sign it. This is not complicated." I raised my eyes and looked directly at her. "You told me I inherited nothing from Grandpa. So what exactly are these papers transferring?" Her complexion drained of color. I must have misunderstood." I turned toward Denise. "You knew about these 3 properties before I ever met your daughter." "Am I correct?" Denise opened her mouth but produced no words. I retrieved my phone and displayed the printed copies of their email exchanges. I read each message aloud. The earliest one from 4 years ago. The progress updates tracking Grandpa's declining health. The final message strategizing how to obtain my signature. Mr. Thompson shifted uncomfortably in his seat. His expression revealed growing alarm. Brianna began weeping. But I recognized those tears. They were tools, not emotions. Denise attempted to intervene. "You are completely misinterpreting those messages. We were simply—" I interrupted her. "Simply what, Imply?" Executing a fraud scheme that lasted 6 years, I produced a thick folder from my bag and handed it to the notary. I addressed him directly. "Mr. Thompson, you deserve to know exactly who you are assisting today. This folder contains documentation of this woman's history. Her previous husband changed his life insurance beneficiary under suspicious circumstances shortly before his death. She collected everything. If you notarize any document here today, you risk becoming an accessory to fraud." Mr. Thompson rose immediately from his chair. He collected his briefcase and moved toward the exit. "I want no involvement in this situation whatsoever." Denise shouted after him. "You cannot just leave us here." But he was already through the door and gone. Brianna collapsed to her knees and grasped my hands desperately. "Please, Tyrone, I am so sorry. I truly do love you." Everything was real between us. I withdrew my hands from her grip. "Stop. Do not degrade us both any further." I reached into my bag once more and retrieved another set of documents. Divorce papers. "This is my petition for divorce. I filed the original with the court this morning." Brianna stared at the papers in disbelief. Words failed her completely. I explained the situation clearly. Those 3 apartments constitute inherited property. Under Pennsylvania law, they remain separate from marital assets. Furthermore, I transferred them into a limited liability company before initiating these proceedings. You have no legal claim to any portion of them. Denise erupted in fury. She screamed obscenities. She threw decorative items across the room. She threatened me with consequences. I calmly dialed the police and reported a domestic disturbance at my residence. Officers arrived within 15 minutes. After assessing the situation, they escorted Denise and Brianna from the property. I stood in my doorway, watching their vehicle vanish around the corner. 6 years concluded in a single afternoon. I expected to feel devastated. Instead, an unexpected sensation washed over me. Liberation. I had been imprisoned in a marriage constructed entirely on lies. Now those walls had crumbled, and I could finally breathe freely. The divorce proceedings extended over 4 months. Brianna hired an aggressive attorney who challenged my protection of the apartments. Every attempt failed. Pennsylvania law clearly designates inherited property as separate assets. The limited liability company created additional barriers. Most significantly, the documented evidence of fraud destroyed any sympathy the court might have extended to her. When the final judgment arrived, Brianna received half of our actual marital assets. That amounted to modest savings, household furnishings, and partial equity in a vehicle. Nothing approaching what she had schemed to obtain. Authorities initiated inquiries into Denise regarding her deceased husband's insurance situation. I chose not to pursue personal legal action. My only desire was peace and closure. Eventually, I learned that mother and daughter relocated to a different state. Perhaps they were searching for their next victim. The initial months following the divorce tested me severely. My pain stemmed not from losing Brianna herself, but from confronting 6 years of manufactured intimacy. I questioned every memory. Were any genuine moments hidden among the manipulation? Did she ever experience authentic feelings for me? These questions haunted my sleepless nights. I began meeting with a therapist who specialized in relationship trauma. Those sessions provided tools for processing betrayal and rebuilding self-trust. Progress came gradually, but it came. I traveled to Philadelphia frequently during this period. Grandpa Earl's apartment needed attention. While sorting through his belongings, I discovered a box containing letters he had written to me but never mailed. One letter particularly affected me. He wrote, "I trust that you will find the right person when the timing is correct. Never rush matters of the heart. Someone worthy will love you for your character, not your possessions." Reading those words released something inside me. I wept openly, but these tears carried healing rather than grief. I assumed responsibility for managing the 3 apartment properties myself. I hired contractors to make necessary repairs and improvements. I carefully selected responsible tenants who would treat the units respectfully. This work provided purpose and connection to Grandpa's legacy. My cousin Kevin became a more significant presence in my life. We spoke by telephone weekly, sharing memories of Grandpa and supporting each other through our grief. Marcus remained my steadfast friend, always available for honest conversation over drinks. 1 year later, I barely recognized the man I had become. Bitterness had dissolved. Anger had faded. I came to understand that Brianna and Denise were themselves victims of their own emptiness and greed. Carrying hatred for them would only poison my own existence. I chose forgiveness, not for their benefit, but for my own freedom. I cautiously re-entered the world of dating. No rushing, no assumptions. I met a woman named Harper, who worked as a nurse at a local hospital. Her kindness radiated naturally. She asked nothing from me except honesty and presence. I am taking things slowly with her. Lessons learned the hard way are not easily forgotten. But for the first time in years, optimism feels justified. The 3 apartments remain standing in Fishtown, but my relationship with them has transformed. They are no longer assets requiring protection from predators. They represent my grandfather's lifetime of dedication. They remind me that integrity and patience build lasting legacies. Most importantly, they taught me the profound truth in Grandpa Earl's words. Money truly does reveal character. But this applies in both directions. Some people reveal corruption when wealth appears. Others reveal strength, wisdom, and grace. The key is developing eyes clear enough to distinguish between them, courage strong enough to act decisively, and a heart generous enough to continue forward without dragging bitterness behind. Sometimes we keep secrets not from selfishness or distrust, Sometimes we keep secrets because we have already glimpsed what others hope to hide from us. And when truth finally emerges into daylight, that is the moment genuine freedom begins. I want to hear from you now, from you. Have you ever discovered that someone close to you had hidden motives? How did you handle that betrayal? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story might help someone facing a similar situation. If this story touched something in you, please press that like button. It genuinely helps this channel grow. Subscribe if you want more stories like this one, and activate notifications so you never miss a new upload. Share this video with friends or family members who might need to hear it today. Thank you sincerely for spending this time with me. I wish you wisdom in your relationships, courage when facing difficult truths, and peace in your heart, no matter what challenges arise. Take good care of yourself, and always remember that protecting yourself is not the same as closing your heart. It simply means opening it to the right people.